and his opponent talk to them and say, look, you guys can talk about whatever you want during the general election, but right now we want this bill. Right now. You must do it now. So, you have pressured the political class. You have pressured the business class. I energize the workers and say to them, find out who your congressman is. He's going to be very available all summer and into the fall, believe me, because he's looking for votes. He'll be in your district. Every time he turns around, I want somebody asking him about his position on this bill and how come he is not in Washington lobbying the Congress to get the president to call the session and vote out a unanimous consent to pass this bill right away. I don't think anybody has any conception of how much money would come flooding into the economy if they were to do this. Everybody in this country, every single person who is capable of working and wants to work, would have a very good, permanent, secure, middle-class job with benefits and retirement, as we used to have not very long ago in this country. Let me say a sidebar about health care. Health care is appropriately the responsibility of the company that you work for. When it was in my first job, more years ago than I like to remember, I paid $3.60 every 2 weeks for every type of health care you could imagine. $3.62 was taken out of my paycheck. Medical, surgeries, medicines. I'll leave it to you and to others to explain what happened in the intervening years. This was not ancient Greece. This was very recently in a historical context. What happened between my $3.60 and the cost of medicines and medical services today? Leaving that aside, the bosses must provide good salaries and good benefits to the workers. How do we affect that? Who looks to that? Who designs the package? And there is where I welcome our brothers in the trade unionists. The trade unionists are masters at putting together employment packages such that their workers are extremely well paid, they have tremendous health care benefits, and good retirement programs. And while some would disparage the activities of the unions, I would have you look at the United Auto Workers, the United Steel Workers in their heyday. These were the best cared for workers in the history of mankind. There will be enough money to do that again. All of the power points that we're going through, who need to be pressured in various ways, have to adjust to a new American work world. We are no longer in the 20th century. A lot of people have not made the adjustments. One of the reasons that the things that are tried by government to offset the carnage of the Panic of 2008 are not working is that they're using yesterday's arguments, yesterday's discussions, yesterday's enemies and friends, as opposed to adjusting to the modern world. The trade unionists have a very substantial place at the table in this new America work paradigm. I heartily endorse them. I ask that they put all requisite pressure on congressmen and senators over whom they have good relations and authority. Many congressmen are very, very, very wedded to the trade unionists. I want the trade unionists, from the head of AFL-CIO all the way down the line, to advocate for the passage of this bill. I want the trade unionists to understand that we are entering an era in which it's not you against them. It's not them against you. It's working together. When you have the kind of money that business will have in this new paradigm, you can make the most beautiful packages for your workers because you have the money. What is the role of the unions? Well, will people need a union if they have a perfect job? I don't know the answer to that. We remember that the trade unionists came to the fore because the bosses mistreated the workers. So you ask this question: if the bosses are treating the workers well, do we need unions? And my answer is categorically yes, we do. But they have to make adjustments, just as the workers do, just as business does, just as politics does. They have to make adjustments to this new paradigm. They can be very, very active consultants, advisors on how to put together a good work package. A case in point, a mid-size or a large corporation has a meeting and they say, we have all this money, we must by law use this money to hire American workers and give them good benefits, and we haven't the faintest idea how to do that because we've never done it before. We haven't done it in so long, no one can remember. Enter our brothers, the trade unionists. They know how to put together good packages, absolutely golden packages. There'll be bumps in the adjustment of business v. labor, v. politics, etc., that the unions can play a very vital role in smoothing out. They're very adept, immensely adept, at getting workers a good deal at the workplace. I welcome them. I ask them very much to become an advocate for this bill, to lobby their congressional people who they have influence with to get the law passed. I think beyond that, there's a pressure group that a lot of people overlook, and that is the churches. Unemployment and poverty are more than economic issues. Unemployment and poverty are moral issues. It is immoral to have in our country the kind of unemployment, the kind of systemic and structural unemployment and poverty that we have, and not do anything about it. It's immoral. So it's perfectly fine for a preacher to address their congregants on Sunday or Saturday, whenever their holy day is, and advocate for the passage of this bill, because this is not a political document. Most priests and other reverends will tell you they don't like to talk about politics in the church, and that's fine. You're not talking about politics, Reverend. You're talking about a bill which will simply give American people a decent job with decent benefits. And that is a moral issue. And the churches are fully capable of addressing moral issues. That's their job. So I welcome them. On the ground, how does this work? Let's say you live in the 10th district of Ohio, the 3rd district of Illinois, and your congressman is Joe, and you want to pressure Joe to pass this bill, to agitate to pass this bill. You go to him as an individual. You show this speech to every single person you know. It'll be on my website, it'll be on YouTube, it'll be on all the major distribution points. Make sure everybody sees it. It's simple, it's not complicated at all. It's very beneficial. Have them agitate. Have them advocate. I want to create a nation of advocates for this bill, to include churches, to include the trade unionists, to include the workers, to include business, and to include politicians. In order to bring this effect about, fairly intense pressure must be brought to bear on the politicians to do the right thing, which is pass this bill. Now, politicians may or may not want to do the right thing. The point is, I want you, as my advocates in the states, to go to the congressman who's running for re-election and say to him, if you don't pass the bill, you don't have a job. Politicians understand what this means. Here's the way you do pressure on the ground level, the retail level, the grassroots level. Go to small business people in your district. Mom and pop, grocery stores, dry cleaners, what have you. Have them approach the congressman and go, look, I'm a businessman in your district and I want this bill passed. So this speech will be broken down into Spanish, various Oriental and Asian languages and so on, so that everybody in the United States can understand it and advocate for it. I want everybody to become an advocate for the passage of this bill. You get the businessmen to start clamoring at the congressman and say, Joe, you know, I'm disappointed because I've given you money for your elections in the past, and I'm simply asking you to do one thing for me, and you're not doing it. And as I've mentioned, there's another fellow on the other corner who wants your job, and if you don't do this, he's going to get your job. Very simple. Politicians react to pressure. In a society like ours, where you have a democratic republic, during a general election time, when the president is up for re-election, much of the Senate, and every single member of the lower house, you can have and exercise a tremendous